yet another special conversation in ET HealthWorld's Health TV. In this episode, we have with us Mr. Narendra Varde, Managing Director at Roche Diagnostics India, Neighbouring Markets, who has close to 2 decades of working experience in the IVD, medical devices, and pharmaceutical industries. And he has joined us and will be taking us through how diagnostic segment is rapidly evolving in the healthcare landscape and what is Roche Diagnostics' focus along the care continuum. Welcome, Mr. Narendra.
Thank you, Pratibha, and it's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, ET HealthWorld, for this opportunity to kind of share my thoughts.
Yeah, so to begin with, since we are focusing on diagnostics today, so any treatment for a disease starts with proper diagnostics. So how diagnostics as an industry has increased in perception and how the need for proper testing has increased? Over to you, Mr. Narendra.
Diagnostics is very critical, right? We've been hearing about this from the time, from a long time, where we say that prevention is better than cure. But when it comes to healthcare, we see that diagnostics is one of the most underpenetrated sectors. We see that within diagnostics, there was a WHO World Health Organization report that also said that diagnostic spending is less than 5% in a hospital, but takes care of more than 70% of the clinical decisions. In COVID, we noticed how important diagnostics was, and actually, COVID really brought diagnostics into the forefront because people realized that without an RT-PCR test, it's difficult to know that you're diagnosed with COVID and what are the next steps to be taken. In fact, Roche played a very crucial role at this time because we were the first company globally who launched the RT-PCR test for COVID. Apart from that, there was a battery of other test biomarkers that were required, whether it was the interleukin-6 or D-dimer, ferritin, CRP, LDH, PCT. A lot of tests that were required by clinicians. Based on those reports, they could understand what is the next course of treatment that needs to be given. And I think what COVID has done is has opened that awareness amongst the general public as well as the government that a lot more focus needs to be put on diagnostics, a lot more focus needs to be put on screening, on wellness. And now we actually see that, people are getting more conscious of their health. They're becoming more proactive. They're going and doing, their routine checkups done. And the world is moving towards globally towards personalized healthcare and precision medicine. And I think these baby steps are just going to help in terms of people taking control of their own health.
To continue, why do you think it is crucial to focus on the diagnostics segment, particularly when it comes to the infectious disease segment, to be prepared for the future pandemics? Now, everyone is talking about, AMR and other stuff, and a lot of things. Monkeypox has now come up, so there's a lot of, issues we are facing. So, your thoughts on it?
We have seen these things evolve, right from the time of Spanish flu, but even lately, whether it is HIV, it is different strains of hepatitis, which is there. Tuberculosis is a huge burden in the country as well. So infectious diseases has always been a challenge. And in our kind of an environment, our population, sometimes, the conditions in which people work as well, they are more prone to contract more of these infectious diseases. And that's why what's important is really to have the right surveillance program in place. I think the government of India did a great job with the National AIDS Control Organization in setting up the whole HIV surveillance program. And I think that has been by far one of the most successful public-private partnerships, and Roche contributes to almost probably 80% of that, the HIV surveillance program. It's done very well. Our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, he has a vision to eliminate TB by 2025, right? And there are a lot of different tools that are now available for these different infectious diseases. But what is going to be critical is how quickly we identify it. Today, what we do is we go and we start the treatment and we start doing the testing when we realize that something is wrong. But probably what we need to do with the right surveillance program is we need to go to the high burden disease areas, test and figure out who are at risk of these diseases or who are contracting them in early stages so that the treatment pathways can start early on. And that itself can reduce a lot of burden on the healthcare system, that can reduce a lot of uh, physical, emotional pain for the patients and their families if those treatments can happen early on. And as you rightly said, we don't know what's after COVID, right? Because now we hear about monkeypox. And yes, we also have come up with a test on monkeypox. But the good thing is in India, still it's controlled. We're not seeing a lot of cases. And we hope that's the case. But if it changes and if monkeypox become more prevalent, I think we are equipped to work with the government and the private sector, to support with the monkeypox test center as well.
Going ahead, I would like to ask about the demand for COVID-19 screening tests. Like it's dipping, though the cases are increasing right now, but it is not so like the past 2 years. And where is the new focus for Roche apart from the COVID in the diagnostic segment? If you can tell us what is the way forward you're looking particular.
So definitely post-COVID, while the awareness is a lot, I think one area that got missed out during COVID for the last 2 years was the NCDs, right? And India is there's a very high prevalence of NCDs, non-communicable diseases as well. We are one of I would say, the diabetes capital of the world. We have a very high proportion of cardiac-related mortality, which is there. And that's one area where we in diagnostics want to focus as well, right? Which is cardiac and cancer, and see how we can help diagnose early and help save lives and help contribute early in the overall treatment pathways. So with that, there's one test that is there, which is NT-proBNP. Now, NT-proBNP is not a new test. Traditionally, cardiologists have been using this to diagnose individuals with congestive heart failure, with detection of mild forms of cardiac dysfunctional risk. But now what we've done is we've got a new claim extension where the NT-proBNP can be used to do cardiovascular risk assessment in type 2 diabetes mellitus patients, right? And T2DM, which is type 2 diabetes mellitus, is very much prevalent in the country. And we hear of so many cases where we suddenly hear that someone was healthy, walking, fit, working. And yes, we met them last week and they were doing so well. And suddenly you get a message and you hear that they've just passed away because of a cardiac arrest, or they've been hospitalized, and we hear so many of these incidents, right? And to that, I think this marker, I feel, will really help the community in general a lot, because with this, with the scores that this marker gives you, physicians can actually do a cardiovascular risk assessment and can predict that you would be at a risk of, having a cardiac event. And this is very important for people with diabetes. So that's something, we want to focus on, create more awareness on, because while NT-proBNP as a test is available on multiple platforms, this claim extension is available only on the Roche Elixis platform. So that's one area that definitely we want to focus on post-COVID. The other area we also are focusing significantly is on cancer and cancer diagnostics, where we really pride of having leadership in diagnosing various types of cancers.
So, as you had mentioned that the focus is on NCDs and particularly in CVD and also in diabetes and metastatic, that is cancer diagnostics. So, to be in particular, I would like to ask certain pertinent questions on that, what you're focusing on. So the diagnostic attention was myocardial infarction mostly, so and stroke mostly. Now it's like because of the diabetic heart failure burden is going on. If you can just give us some numbers, why it is so, why we should be more on the diabetic heart failure side. Indians should more focus on it.
If you see the prevalence, right, which is there of diabetes, or type 2 diabetes, right? We see globally, like the prevalence is like around 537 million people have it, and that is going to go to around 783 million. Out of this, you will be surprised to know that a huge proportion, 35% of the population comes from India, right? They reside in India. And everyone knows the consequences of diabetes. It slowly, it's like if it's not checked in time, it leads to a lot of complications later on. And one of the large complications type 2 DM also leads to is cardiac related events, which is what I was trying to explain before. And we are seeing increasing incidence on this. We are seeing an increasing mortality that is happening in diabetes patients because of cardiac related events. And that's the reason it's important that again people take their health in their own control. And if there is something which is available that shows you that you are at a possible risk of a cardiac event, I think it's worthwhile for someone to go and check it, because you have a lot of different things that physicians will tell you, right? They tell you to focus on your diet. They, eat healthy. They ask you to focus in general on lifestyle, right? Diet, exercise, wellness, all of these things. But that itself is not enough, because we all have our own genetic composures as well. Each body behaves differently. So even if we feel we live a very healthy lifestyle, genetically, probably we are prone to more cardiac events. And that's where we say that if, for instance, with this test, if you are able to go and get this test done, you would then be able to have better control to know that are you at a risk or are you not at a risk? And your physician will actually be able to support you by looking at the score and telling you, what are the next measures or medication that possibly you'll need to take.
In continuation with the earlier question, so the CVD risk is there. So how does it help in reducing mortality and CVD events? This awareness thing, how Roche is like building it up, how you're taking it to the next level, and is there any kind of a age limit which you're saying this test can be done so it becomes easier for them? Like because most of them go on their own and do their tests. So if you can just give some,
Sure.
thoughts on that, yeah.
Sure, Pratibha. So we collaborate with the physician community, with the hospitals and labs to first create awareness with them. So we started off with first having an advisory board meeting with some of the top cardiologists across the country. And we said, look, this is the data, this is the test, what do you think about it? And those are great platforms where we get feedback. There is always some skepticism first. People want to read the data, they want to understand it, and then come up with their suggestions. And I think those were great platforms where we learn from cardiologists how probably this test can be used, where the application of it will be. And it's important that they are convinced first. Then availability becomes the next point, right? Because for a cardiologist to order the test, he needs to also make sure that the test is available, the kind of reporting and scoring that's required is getting provided by the lab as well. So we create these awareness with the lab networks, with the professionals in the lab. We have say lunch and learn meetings, or we have some educational activities where we explain this to them, which for us also is with the help of digital, is easier now because our footprint is spread across 450 cities, and we have more than 3,000 installations, across the country. So I think from an access standpoint, we already have the machine and the availability probably in the tier 3 cities as well. But it also becomes a challenge. How do you make sure that knowledge in that consistent way is given to the different healthcare professionals so that they are aware of it? Because otherwise people getting confused also becomes is also easy, right? Because if people are not able to interpret the result, soon it can also backfire. So that's something which we are doing slowly and steadily, making sure the awareness in the healthcare community and the labs is increasing. They understand how to use the test, how to interpret the test, and then we expect the large labs, they would be the ones who would then be doing a lot of their go-to-patient communication through their call centers and through their other marketing channels that they have.
Also, Coming to the digital health space, because of pandemic, yes, the whole healthcare landscape is now like leapfrogged, and we have lot of digitization happening. So, if you can just touch upon what kind of digital activities has happened during this pandemic, or how you're going to take it to the next level, the integrated lab setup you have in Roche, and what are the plans you have.
At Roche, we are focusing a lot on digital health. Like we've seen right now, we see with payments, it's become so easy. You don't need to carry cash anymore. You can just do a Paytm or a Google Pay anywhere, and it's become so convenient, so easy, and the ecosystem has supported it. I don't think digital health, we are very far away from it as well, right? I think our Prime Minister again has, through the National Health and Digital Mission, has announced that they want to have a health ID for every individual. What we have done, and this is one of our chairman's vision, was really to get more into the digital health space. We have now something called as Roche Information System. So we are in Pune. We have built a site where we are making digital products for the globe, and a lot of those products are also going to be, of course, commercialized in India as well. So that's one major investment that we've done in India. We've grown from a team of 50 to more than 200 in 2 years, and we have massive expansion plans over there. What kind of products are coming out of this hub, right? So the first thing is we are looking at how to make labs more operationally efficient. How do we make sure that we support them with faster turnaround times, so that results go seamlessly to the physicians, patients get their results fast, and the treatment starts faster. We're also focusing on other areas such as digital pathology, where based on digital images, are actually being are able to see the results even if they're not present there physically, right? So digital pathology now can be used as a hub and spoke model, and this can really help in advanced diagnostics to take it further on, and help again diagnose critical cancer types early on through digital pathology. The other thing we are looking at is make how do we simplify processes in the lab and in the hospital? And it could be through, say, how to optimize the whole inventory management processes, or how can we look at, sequencing and mutations that come? How can digital tools help to identify where in the sequencing, the challenges, the issue is? So again, digital is going to be the way forward. And we've made small steps, but significant steps over there. But this is an area that's just going to grow in the future.
Yeah, that's true. And in particularly, I want to ask about your collaboration with Bristol Myers Squibb. It's to develop an AI algorithm that will assess clinical images. Why this question? Because artificial intelligence is the hot topic, and a lot of diagnostics players are working into it. And how do you think this collaboration is going to help you on an advanced image-based diagnostic test?
Bristol Myers Squibb is the latest collaboration that we've done, but apart from that, also we are in Roche Pharma as well. We are one of the leading providers of oncology drugs and innovation in biotech and immunotherapies and all of these areas, right? So what you may have heard of this term as companion diagnostics. So there are drugs that companies are manufacturing, and then there are these diagnostic tests based on which the physician is able to give the right drug. So precision medicine, personalized healthcare, all are moving towards this, where you have the right diagnosis done. And based on your diagnosis, specific diagnosis pertaining to you personally, the right drug will be provided. Because whether you look at breast cancer or lung cancer, there are so many different types of breast cancers. There are so many different types of lung cancers that are available, right? And this is where the companion diagnostics can help. Now we are adding another layer of machine learning and artificial intelligence to it by saying that, yes, we get the result, but probably we want the machine to also, we want the algorithms to also predict that, what is it, what specific type of cancer it is. and what specific treatment can be done for it. And that is where we've come up with an open platform in our digital pathology and our Ventana systems, where we are now looking at collaborating with a lot of different companies, and Bristol Myers Squibb is one of them, where we want to make sure we are building the right algorithms by which we are then able to tell the right tumor type and the right drug that should be prescribed along with it. So that's the whole objective behind this collaboration, and this is just going to increase across different companies for us.
So, going ahead, I would like to ask about the future plans of Roche in home-based diagnostic, because that is getting bigger and bigger. Though we are saying that we are young population, our geriatric population is getting, is increasing. So, a lot of them are looking out into this space.
I think during COVID, we saw that the home-based diagnostic test really took off well. But the one thing we need to be aware of is, if people are going to self-diagnose, we absolutely need to be sure of the quality of the home-based test, right? That the quality of the test is good enough. The second thing is, there still needs to be some kind of a pathway that if someone, especially if they're home-based tests based on, say, infectious diseases, then if someone is coming positive, what is the way in which the person is reporting it, and what is the way in which the next treatment pathway is getting designed. The one advantage with home-based tests during COVID was that there was a lot of pressure on the whole PCR infrastructure which was there, and people wanted the results quickly. But if you saw the guidelines still said that you do a home-based test, but then you also get a PCR test done as a confirmatory, even if your test is negative, right? So a positive test is positive, but if a test is negative, you get a PCR done just to make sure you rule out any possibility of a false negative result. And that is something which is going to be very critical from a regulatory and approval standpoint of how do we define these home-based tests. If these are tests such as, we already have pregnancy tests, right? Which are there. There are pregnancy tests. Now there are COVID tests, which are there. We also have tests, for instance, for warfarin therapy. Roche has a CoagUCheck access home-based test, which you do and you'll be able to see. We have the continuous glucose monitoring tests, which have also been very prevalent in the market with our AccuCheck portfolio, and that's become like a routine, right? Anyone with diabetes now goes and either has a continuous glucose monitoring system, or they have one of these meters and the strips on which they check this. So there is an opportunity for it, but we have to make sure it's done in the right way to ensure that people are getting the right results and they know what's the next step after they get the result as well.
I know you had briefed a lot about oncology and cancer diagnostics, the diagnostics. But since your Roche is concentrating more on NCD, particularly on cancer and CVDs, I would like to know, if you can give us kind of down the lane in next financial year, or in next 1 year, where you see Roche in this space. If you could just tell us, and any expansion plans. Or what are the next steps in diagnostic space for Roche?
Sure. So, Pratima, if you look at Roche in the tissue diagnostic space, we are the market leaders, and even in India, we have more than 80% of the market. In tissue diagnostics, if you see, people have to see the tissue, and that's called advanced staining is what we do. And then they are able to tell you what is that specific cancer type which is there, right? And for this, we have a wide range of different high value markers that based on your symptoms, based on your indications, those particular high value markers and antibodies are tested for, which then give very valuable information to the physician in terms of what cancer type it is and what treatment needs to be given. And this is our Ventana portfolio, which is where the whole companion diagnostics that I was referring to before. The Ventana portfolio, along with digital pathology, is the whole companion diagnostics, which we are doing with a wide range of different pharmaceutical companies that are focused on oncology, right? Apart from this, the other point that I would like to add is that we are doing a lot of innovation in this space. We are partnering, collaborating globally with different pharma companies. Bristol Myers Squibb is one of them, to come up with new algorithms, to come up with new antibodies that would support with that personalized healthcare treatment, right? That personalized diagnostics treatment. Then in the sequencing space, which again during COVID got a lot of visibility, that's something which Roche is again a gold standard with Foundation Medicine. Those who've heard of Foundation Medicine, it's also available in India, but it's in a test send out model where the test goes to Boston and then you get your full gene mutation profile, which is there. But that CGP kit, which is there, the comprehensive genomic profiling kit that we call Avenio, we are now bringing it to India as well. So we are launching it in India. We're looking at building centers of excellence over here in India, making it more affordable than a test send out model. And it's a large gene panel which is there, by which someone who has cancer, for instance, can get this full cancer genomic profiling done. There are, if I'm not wrong, 354 gene mutations on which you will be able to get the result. And on that also, what we have is again a digital tool, which is the Navify mutation profiler, that will help the physician understand that in this particular sequence where there's disruption, what that exactly is, right? So we are moving into diagnostics now, which is getting even more specific. We are now going into the gene level, trying to understand where that specific challenge which is that specific mutation where the issue is, and then how can we have a treatment for that so that people get very specific treatment and not a generic treatment. Because earlier the whole pathway is, if you have cancer, you go for chemotherapy, you go for surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. That was a protocol that was there. But now with the whole sequencing and companion diagnostics, we're trying to see if we can make the treatment more personalized, more specific, so that the outcomes are stronger and people can recover from it and lead a better quality of life again.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Narendra, for joining in and elaborating on what Roche is into.
Thank you so much, Pratibha. This was a great conversation, and thank you for all your questions.